Hi everyone, I am Dr.V.VIJI, Associate Professor of Economics, PG and Research Department of Economics, A.D.M.COLLEGE, NAGAPATTINAM. Today we will see flexible exchange rate policy. Now we have to see the meaning of flexible exchange rate policy. The foreign exchange rate or exchange rate is the rate at which one currency is exchanged for another. It is the price of one currency in terms of another currency. It is customary to define the exchange rate as the price of one unit of the foreign currency in terms of the domestic currency. The exchange rate between the dollar and the pound refers to the number of dollars required to purchase a pound. Thus, the exchange rate between the dollar and the pound from the US viewpoint is expressed 2.5 pound sterling is equal to 1 or 0.40 pound sterling that is equal to $1 will be maintained in the world foreign exchange market by arbitrage. Arbitrage refers to the purchase of a foreign currency in a market where its price is low and to sell it in some other market where its price is high. The effect of arbitrage is to remove differences in the foreign exchange rate of currencies so that there is a single exchange rate in the world foreign exchange market. If the exchange rate is $2.48 in the London exchange market and $2.5 in the New York exchange market. Foreign exchange speculators known as arbitrageurs will buy pounds in London and sell them in New York, thereby making a profit of 2 cents on each pound. As a result, the price of pounds in terms of dollars rises in the London market and falls in the New York market. Now we have to see the flexible exchange rates. Flexible, floating or fluctuating exchange rates are determined by market forces. The monetary authority does not intervene for the purpose of influencing the exchange rate. Under a regime of freely fluctuating exchange rates, if there is an excess supply of a currency, the value of that currency in foreign exchange markets will fall. It will lead to depreciation of the exchange rate. Consequently, equilibrium will be restored in the exchange market. On the other hand, storage of a currency will lead to appreciation of exchange rate, thereby leading to restoring of equilibrium in the exchange market. These market forces operate automatically without any intervention on the part of monetary authority. Now let us see the diagrammatical explanation of this flexible foreign exchange rate. Here we have to take the quality of pound sterling and exchange rate. Here the supply of money and the demand for money, these two curves are intersect at point E. In this level, the quantity of pound sterling is Q, the exchange rate is E. Sometimes the demand of exchange rate is increased from E to E2. Sometimes the exchange rate will be reduced from E to E1. Likewise, the quantity of pound sterling also changed from Q2, Q1, Q2, Q3, etc. Case for flexible exchange rates. Here we have to see symbol operation. A system of flexible exchange rate is symbol in the operative mechanism. The exchange rate moves automatically and freely to equate supply and demand, thereby clearing the foreign exchange market. It does not allow a deficit or surplus to build up and eliminates the problem of surplus of any one currency. Smoother adjustment. Under it, the adjustment is continual. The adjustment in the balance of payments are smoother and painless as compared with the fixed exchange rate adjustment. In fact, flexible exchange rates avoid the aggravation of pressure on the balance of payments and the periodic rises that follow disequilibrium in the balance of payments under a system of fixed exchange rate. Autonomy of economic policies. Under this system, autonomy of the domestic economic policies is preserved. Modern governments are committed to maintain full employment and promote stability with the growth. They are not required to sacrifice these objectives of full employment and economic growth in order to remove balance of payments disequilibrium under a regime of flexible exchange rates. Disequilibrium in the balance of payments automatically corrected. Since under a system of flexible exchange rates, disequilibrium in the balance of payments is automatically corrected, there is no need to accommodate gold movements and capital flows in and out of countries. No need of foreign exchange reserves. There is no need for foreign exchange reserves where exchange rates are moving freely. A deficit country will simply allow its currency to depreciate in relation to foreign currency instead of intervening by supplying foreign exchange reserves to the other country to maintain a stable exchange rate. Removes problems of international liquidity. A system of flexible exchange rates removes the problems of international liquidity. The storage of international liquidity is the result of pegged exchange rates and intervention by monetary authorities to prevent fluctuations beyond narrow limits. When exchange rates are flexible, speculators will supply foreign exchange to satisfy private liquidity needs. No need of borrowing and lending short-term funds. As a corollary to the above, when foreign exchange rates move freely through, is no need to have international institutional arrangements like the IME for borrowing the lending short-term funds to remove disequilibrium in the balance of payments. Effective monetary policy. The system of flexible exchange rates enforces the effectiveness of monetary policy. If a country wants to increase output, it will lower interest rate and regime of flexible exchange rates. The lowering of interest rates will result in an outflow of capital. A rise in the spot rate for the currency, which will in turn cause exports to rise and imports to fall. The increased exports will tend to rise domestic prices or income or both. Mistakes avoided. As a corollary with the automatic adjustments of balance of payments, there is no possibility of making monetary, fiscal and administrative policy mistakes. Does not require complicated trade restrictions. A system of flexible exchange rates thus means required the introduction of complicated and expensive trade restrictions, and the exchange co-cost of foreign exchange restrictions is removed. No need of forming customs unions and currency areas. Under this system, the world can get rid of competitive exchange rate, depreciation and tariff warfare among nations, and there shall be to forming custom unions and currency areas, which are the containment results of the system of fixed exchange rates. Economical. This system is very economical because it does not require ideal holding of foreign currencies. Rather, a country can use its foreign reserves to meet its immediate requirements. Promotes international trade. This system promotes international trade because it maintains the exchange rates at their natural level through continuous market adjustment. Thus, there is no danger of overvaluation or undervaluation of a country's currency. Insulation from international economic events. Under this system, a country is protected against international economic fluctuations and shocks by making adjustments in its exchange rates. Comparative adjustment. comparative advantage. Under this system, the exchange rate are always in equilibrium. It is therefore possible to assess the comparative advantage to a country in a particular commodity. Now let us see the cases against flexible exchange rates. Malallocation of resources. Critics of flexible exchange rates points out that market mechanism may fail to bring about an appropriate exchange rate. The equilibrium exchange rate in the foreign exchange market at a point of time may not give correct signals to concerned parties in the country. This may lead to wrong decision and malallocation of resources to the country. Official interventions. It is difficult to define a freely flexible exchange rate. It is not possible to have an exchange rate where there is absolutely no official intervention. Government may not intervention directly in the foreign exchange market, but domestic monetary and fiscal measures do influence foreign exchange rates. For instance, if domestic saving is more than domestic investment, it means that the country is a net investor abroad. The outflow of capital will bring down the exchange rate. All this may be due to the indirect impact of government policies. No justification. As a corollary, there is no justification for a government to leave the determination of exchange rates to international market forces when prices, rents, wages, interest rates, etc. are often controlled by the government. Exchange risk and uncertainty. Another disadvantage of this system is that frequent variation in exchange rates create exchange risk, breed uncertainty, and impede international trade and capital movements. For instance, an Indian who imports from Japan and promises to pay in yen runs the risk that the rupee price of yen will rise above expected levels. At times, the currency appreciates and the flexible rate moves to A, whereas the fixed rate remains at the same level A1, that is equal to E. At A, import prices fall, imports are exchanged and exports are discouraged, so exports will be at a disadvantage at A. Then imports will gain at A, then at A1. Here you see the diagrammatical explanation. Here we have to take time and the exchange rate. When we have import anything, in that situation, the foreign exchange value is different. When import anything from other countries, in that situation, the exchange rate will be changed according to the flexible exchange rate. Adverse effect of speculation. Under this system, speculation adversely influences fluctuations in supply and demand for foreign exchange. Critics argue on the basis of empirical evidence that speculation is destabilizing, which means that it aggregates fluctuations in exchange rate. It is often said that speculators see a decline in exchange rate as a signal for further decline, and that their actions will cause the movement in the exchange rate to be larger than it would be in the absence of speculation. Encouragement to inflation. The system has inflationary bias. Critics argue that under a system of flexible exchange rates, a depreciation of the exchange rate leads to a various cycle of inflation. Depreciation leads to a rise in import prices, thereby making import goods more expensive. This leads to cost push inflation. At the same time, export prices rise, consequently due to the rise in the cost of living. Money wages rise, which in turn intensifies inflation, breaks the world market. The system break up the world market. There is no one money which serves as a medium of exchange, unit of account, store of value, and a standard of deferred payment. Under it, the world market for goods and capital would be divided, resources allocation would be vastly suboptimal. Failure to solve balance of payments deficit of less developed countries. Now we have to see the less developed countries are faced with the perpetual problem of deficit in their balance of payments because their imports raw materials, machinery, capital, equipment, etc. for the purpose of their development. Here we have to see the diagrammatical explanation of demand and supply of the foreign exchange. Here x-axis represents quantity of currency, y-axis represents exchange rate. Here the supply curve, it is upward slope from the y-axis. Then the demand schedule, demand it is shifted from D to D1 and D2. Here we have to see different levels of the exchange rates, P, P1, P2, P3, etc. Now let us see the conclusion of this flexible exchange rate. The practical use of flexible exchange rates is severely limited. Depreciation and appreciation of currency. Here we have to see so many diagrammatical explanations. Appreciation leads to fall and rise in prices in the countries adapting them. They lead to depressions and inflation respectively. Further, they create insecurity and uncertainty. This is more due to speculation in foreign exchange, which disabilities the economics of countries adapting flexible exchange rates. Governments therefore favor fixed exchange rates, which requires adjustment in the balance of payments by adapting policy measures. Thank you.